The question is, do we concede ground and run away from anywhere? Hollywood is a place that many have said, get out of. I just say get out of California, but that's for different reasons. Am I right? And by the way, if any of you are from California, God bless you with your recount, because it's going to be, that's what I'm talking about. I would have bet against it, I'm not going to lie, but I figured, especially when people like running from the state, I'm like, well, the conservatives leaving, you aren't going to get the signatures, and you did it. Well done. So the question is, what do we do when it comes to Hollywood? How do we fight back? Because I'm a fighter. I don't like to concede. But how do you even get in there, right? How do you even infiltrate Hollywood that hates and despises us? There's a man that's going to come out here right now, a director and a producer, who understands Hollywood and big media and what conservatives need to do. Please give a warm welcome to Robbie Starbuck.
Hello, CPAC. How are you guys doing? If you don't know me already, I started out as a director-producer in Hollywood. I've directed Oscar-winning actors, actresses, and some of the biggest music stars in the world. But in 2015, I came out as a Republican, the most unforgivable crime you can commit in Hollywood. And then I endorsed Trump, which they didn't know that you could do something worse than come out as Republican, but that was it. That was not a very popular thing to do. But I would do it all over again a million times if given the chance, despite losing 85% of our business in that first year, and my little girl being called a racist because her Cuban dad was conservative. And I would do it over and over again because this country gave me the opportunity to stand up. And that's something that a lot of people lose sight of. There's people in China and in Cuba who don't have that luxury. So I will stand up every single time. So today I am here to stand up and tell you that I am critically concerned about the relationship that big tech has with the Democratic Party and government at large. It doesn't stop just, on the base level of, there's censorship. If you pull a layer back, you'll see that at each one of these big tech companies, they are actually hiring people that have worked for the Democrats. At Twitter, their comms director worked for Kamala Harris as her press secretary. At Instagram, theirs used to work for Michelle Obama and Hillary Clinton. And at Facebook, theirs worked for Barbara Boxer. The list goes on and on. I could be here my entire time slot if I kept going. To make matters worse, there's people in Congress who actually endorse their silencing of you, and not only that, they believe it should go a step further. They want there to be a social credit system because then you'll be so afraid to state your opinion that you'll hold it back for fear that your business will be destroyed, your access to the platforms will be destroyed. This is why we need to acknowledge as conservatives that we are in a culture war and we are losing. And if we want to win, we need to acknowledge that fact. Culture is an important question. They recently had Joe Biden on CNN, and they did something that I never thought CNN would do, but they asked him about the Uyghurs in China who are being raped, tortured, and children are being kidnapped, forced to praise China as their mother and to praise communism as their savior. They asked Joe Biden about it, and he said it amounted to a mere cultural difference. I don't think that more disgusting words have ever left the lips of an American president. And it was at that moment that if you didn't already know that he was not an American president, that was the moment where you should have known he was China's first president of America. And why is that important? That's important because our own culture is shifting. So if he can discredit that to just a mere cultural difference, what will the leader of the Democratic Party and the Democratic Party at large do when our own culture shifts to a point where, I can give you an example, recently a lawyer at PBS, yes, PBS, where they make children's show, a lawyer there called for Republicans' children to be put into re-education camps. So what happens if our own culture shifts to that point where that becomes acceptable? I think we all know the answer to that, and that's why we have to fight back. So I want to praise the people who are doing it right. People like the Daily Wire, who just hired Gina Carano after she was fired by Disney and Lucasfilms. Ron DeSantis and Josh Hawley, who are fighting through legislation. And now to all of us, what we need to do, we need to put the pressure on our AGs, our state legislatures, our congressmen, congresswomen. We need to pressure our governors to go ahead and bring that fight the same way that Ron DeSantis and Josh Hawley have, and people like Matt Gaetz, who's following after me. Our biggest donors need to match them with funding because we are not going to be given a seat at the table by these people in Hollywood. It is never going to happen. We have to build our own pillars of culture in academia, publishing, music, film, all around. And I'm not talking about something that's narrowly attractive. I'm talking about something that's broadly attractive to everybody because that's how the left got here. They used subtlety to change the minds of children, reaffirmed it at college, and then the kids came home hating the values their parents had raised them with. We can't allow that to happen for another generation, so I am calling us all to action. Ronald Reagan once said that we had a time for choosing, and I'm saying that we have a time for choosing again. If we want this party to survive, we need to go back to his words. Reagan once said that we face the greatest enemy in man's long climb from the swamp to the stars, and that if we lose that war, that in so doing we would lose this freedom of ours. He then said that history would record with the greatest astonishment that those who had the most to lose did the least to stop it. We need to make sure that that's not how history records us. He went on to tell a story about a Cuban refugee and two businessmen, where the two businessmen were listening to the refugee tell his story. One businessman turned to the other and said, "We don't realize how lucky we are." And the Cuban turned to them and said, "No, you don't realize how lucky I am. I had some place to go to." And in that sentence, he told the entire story, because this is our last stand. This is freedom's last stand. If America falls, freedom falls. And so we all need to double our efforts. We all need to double our efforts and make sure that we left nothing on the table, because this is a fight worth having, this is a country worth saving, and freedom is something that should be a human right. And we are the fighters who need to ensure that the next generation has it. This country is what makes possible for my own mom to come from Cuba, going into the unknown, leaving the only home she'd ever known after it was stolen by communism, only able to bring one item with her. She brought a doll that was passed down in the family, and that doll, its head was smashed in by a soldier. And I say that because I want you to know that that's what leftism does. It steals everything from you. And so this is our last stand. I hope you join me in fighting for freedom. That's why I'm able to stand up here. That freedom in America is the reason I can be here and say that I am running for Congress in the state of Tennessee in 2022. Thank you, guys. And lastly, I just want to say that this is my last remark. Mark Zuckerberg, Jack Dorsey, a wave of lions is coming in 2022. We will not allow you to get away with what you've gotten away with anymore. You fight for the establishment, we fight for the people, so get ready because you are going to have the biggest fight on your hands that you two have ever had, and that goes for everybody else in big tech. Thank you, guys.